Welcome to episode number 85. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about how we learn. So many people struggle with how to actually learn. Everybody asks, hey, what books do you read? But not too many people ask, how do you read so many books at once? How do you learn? How do you comprehend so much? And in today's episode, I'm going to give you the secrets that I use, that I just taught my daughter as well. How to learn, how to retain more information, and how to get things done. Stay tuned. So the big question is, how do ambitious people like us, who grew up listening to the old advice of go to school, work hard for 40 years, and retire when you're old, create a life today that is meaningful, abundant, healthy, and brings joy, while also leading a life that is productive and full of achievement? That is the question, and this is the podcast that will help give you the answers that you're searching for. My name is Del Denny, and welcome to the Upgrade Your Life podcast. What's going on? Del Denny here, and today I want to talk about how we learn. Now, I don't know if you're having this interesting thing with kids right now, but my oldest daughter is going to school, but virtually, and I think we're all trying to figure out this whole virtual thing. And it's really interesting. My oldest daughter, she's in 6th grade, and so she just came out of elementary school, and now she's into the big middle school. And unfortunately, she has to kick off her middle school days, this whole new life, virtually on top of everything else. And so she's really trying to figure out how to learn through the internet. She's really figuring out, how to keep a schedule, and her life has really changed. And as you know, any time, things change, it can get stressful. So I know there's a lot of stressed out kids out there. And so she's like, yesterday, she had this really hard time with her schoolwork. She was just constantly distracted by a lot of different things. And so at the end of the day, she didn't get all of her schoolwork done. And so she was really stressed out. And so I had this really good conversation with her about how we learn. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about on today's podcast, is how we learn. Now, the school system that we're in today just really doesn't work. I mean, to be frank, the way that we're taught, number one, we're not taught how to learn, which is really important. I didn't really learn how to study until after I got out of high school. I didn't really learn how to read and prepare for a test until maybe my senior year of high school. I just didn't know those things, and it wasn't until later in my life till I really realized the importance of how we learn, actually what we learn. It's not, too many people ask, what books do you read? They don't ask, well, how do you read books? Because for me, I knock out a book a week, and I have a strategy to that. There's a methodology behind that. And so what I was sharing with my daughter was, you have to take breaks. And she didn't really get it. And I said, well, think about this. Do you know what cramming is? She's like, no, I don't know what cramming is. She still knew that. As we know what cramming is like where we just spend so much time studying, right? We'll spend 3 hours studying. And then I asked my daughter, think about the last time you were in a meeting. Whether you're at church or whether you're at school, you had an hour-long meeting. You typically remember the first part of the class or the first part of the meeting, and you remember the last part. You tend to forget what's in the middle, right? The things at the beginning and at the end are usually more memorable than the stuff in the middle. And that's how our brain works. It remembers the beginning and the ends. Now, the problem is when we cram, we only have one beginning, we have one ending, and we have this huge middle, and we don't remember that. That's why cramming doesn't work. Everyone recognizes cramming doesn't work, but that's the science behind why cramming doesn't work. So how do you study then? Well, you take breaks. And so I've talked about the Pomodoro technique on the podcast before, and we can utilize this again. Whether you take a 30-minute focused session or a 50-minute, that's up to you. I prefer 30 minutes, so I'll work for 30 minutes straight. I'll sit down on my computer, I'll have a stopwatch right next to me. I'll click start, and I'll just do focused effort just for 30 minutes. When that timer's done, I hit stop. I stand up, take a 5-minute break, relax, refresh my mind, do whatever I want to do, whether go get a snack or check Facebook or, surf around on the internet. That's up to me. That's up to you. But then once that 5 minutes is over, then it's back to another 30-minute dedicated session. And it's really good for the brain. Number one, it really helps with the focus. You'll be amazed what you can get done in 30 minutes, and you have that break. But what happens is when it comes to learning, that's the key part. That's why we're talking about it in this podcast. This is what I was telling my daughter. When it comes to learning, is instead of cramming where you have one beginning, one end, and a huge middle, now you've broken it up to having much more beginning and end, break, beginning, end, break, beginning, end, break. And so now you're retaining more. So I told her, I was like, look, if you just take breaks, imagine this, you're going to take breaks. Isn't it nice to take breaks? Yeah, absolutely. You're going to get your work done faster, and you're going to learn more, and your grades are probably going to be better by taking breaks. Isn't that awesome? So, by the way, could you imagine if they taught this in school? Like, if they taught this in middle school, like how to learn, we would be so much better off. They just don't teach these things in school. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. I didn't learn that until later on in my life. And so hopefully that's a hack for you guys to learn and retain and be better, upgrade your life, and all that good stuff. So anyways, this is Del Denny signing off. Remember, learn, lead, and live to your full potential. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes to get automatic episode updates for the Upgrade Your Life podcast. And finally, please take a minute to leave us an honest review and rating on iTunes. Your feedback really helps us out when it comes to the ranking of the show, and I make it a point to read every single one of the reviews that we get. So thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me on the Upgrade Your Life podcast. Have a great day.